The biggest learning for me with Lovable is don't let it do anything without it confirming things with you. It is still a dumb AI tool which just randomly does things.
Just the Google sign in, it costed me 100 more credits. So look at the time it took me to just implement one functionality, which it was struggling a lot. I think it failed more than 30 to 40 times of implementing that. So it implemented the functionality, but
The things that I love the most is front end exceptional.
I think all these tools can be better at giving more user-friendly messages. Imagine the customer like us, right? We are come from more product background.
vibe coding as general, what I feel is it's easier to get to that 80%, but the last 20% is the toughest. And to give an example,
Just give it a prompt to say, hey, create action logs for everything that's happening.
okay,
That'll then it in itself can go back to the logs and
I can't see it visually on the sandbox on the right.
I've faced that a lot too. I need to test every small detail, otherwise it would have messed up somewhere.
So for my app, I added an OpenAI integrations, Claude integrations, and all of that to it. So I think it's really good that way. But one big problem which I've seen is I think
I had multiple dead ends. It was working outside, not working through this, not able to figure out. Maybe it's just spending time.
I think you have to be like a QA expert. It doesn't take care of any of the flows. Every flow ends up in a 404 error at the start. Hey guys, so we have been trying the vibe coding tool since the last 90 days. So we wanted to do a video on sharing some of the good practices of vibe coding, and some of the downsides of vibe coding. And also we'll go into details of our experiences using a particular tool and what went well, what we struggled with, and how do you basically navigate through the points where when you're struggling building products and vibe coding. So let's maybe start with our experiences. So Phani, talk us through your experience of general vibe coding and your experiences with using Lovable.
Yeah, for sure, Sidhu. I mean, like you said, the tool that I use the most and I love the most is Lovable, for sure. I've used it in both personal and in my work as well. Personal a lot, work a little bit. Work-wise, I started building like design prototypes and stuff that I can give to my designer rather than me building by myself. But personal, for sure. The things that I love the most is front-end exceptional, like at least for the initial prototypes. But when you try to like tweak it from time to time, it's painful. Backend integrations, 100% difficult. And I was also trying to do like Shopify integrations and stuff, which made it crazy difficult. Like if the product that you're trying to integrate is not that good, then you're gonna struggle with these vibe coding tools. But if that one is giving like exceptional APIs, which works really well, then maybe you're at a better state. The biggest learning for me with Lovable is don't let it do anything without it confirming things with you. It is still a dumb AI tool which just randomly does things instead of understanding the problem. So every time what I do right now is if I wanted to change something, I do a chat with it first. Tell, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Give me a plan. I review the plan, then I ask it to implement it. Previously, I used to just say, hey, go and update these things. And I used to give it a list. It used to mess up one thing or the other. It used to be painful to go back. Primarily those though. But again, I know I'm giving a lot of complaints here. But if I think about myself 3 months ago, I wouldn't even have been thinking about like building a product by myself. Now I'm at a state where I want to try something by myself first before I think about hiring an engineer, hiring a external third party who can build this entire flow for me.
Yeah. I want to reiterate one thing which you talked about, Funny. So anybody who's vibe coding, right, especially with Lovable, when you give it a action to do, Lovable, what it does, it actually makes all the changes to it. So a best tool or tip to do is to enable the chat function on the side, as you said, and then chat with it. Say, okay, I want to build this feature. How do you plan to do it? So actually what I observed is what it's doing is it's actually going back to the database and looking at all the database tables which it has built before, and then giving us a plan on what to do. So I've seen chat more effective rather than just building it. So just an example, right? When I asked it to build something without even looking at the database tables and the calls which existed before, it kind of built it, which was not working. But when I did a chat, what it did is it actually looked at the whole code base, saw if the code existed or no, were there any database tables which it can use, then it created a plan for that. When I chatted with it, it did a better job of implementing it rather than directly asking it to do it. So I think that's a very good observation, Fanny. So
I'll also tell one more thing, right? Think about real world. Like all of us are product managers. How do we build a product? We just randomly don't tell an engineer, go just build off this thing, right? We rather put a page or put a document, some thought process, and then go talk to them to say, hey, this is how I'm thinking. What do you say? Like, how does our system work? Like, does it enable this functionality? Is it a crazy big change or a smaller change? Some conversation happens before you actually go and build. That's exactly what we need to do with these tools as well. Think of it as your developer, which doesn't understand the problem which you have in your mind. Rather, chat with it. Ask it like, hey, explain me how this functionality works. Explain me how this component works. Then once you understand, just tell it what it needs to do. Then it works perfectly.
yeah, and I think if you ask me, right, so vibe coding as general, what I feel is it's easier to get to that 80%, but the last 20% is the toughest. And to give an example, when I was building this Get Prompts app, I wanted to have Google login so that people can easily log in. So to get to a point where I had extensive functionality which people can go search prompts, search them by category, create an account and save prompts to their account, and all of that, it took me like 100 credits to get to. And for just the Google sign in, it costed me 100 more credits. So look at the time it took me to just implement one functionality, which it was struggling a lot. I think it failed more than 30 to 40 times of implementing that. So it implemented the functionality, but it implemented it partially. So what was happening is I was able to log into the first time, but once I log in and sign out, it doesn't show me a Google sign in. I can't even tell it this is what's happening. It's not able to replicate it because this is an edge case scenario. So I think overall getting to that 80% is easier, but the last 20% where you have these edge cases, it's very hard for you to overcome that.
I'll also tell one more thing, right? It's painful when you're not able to find where the problem is. Like in general, when an issue happens, engineers debug, they know like where the problem is. Here, what happens is, I'll give you my example. I was trying to integrate with Shopify, I was telling, right? I could use any external tool, make API calls, and it works. But the exact same thing, even though it's already integrated with the tool here, somehow I'm not able to place an order in Shopify. Somehow it doesn't work. Like whatever I do, it doesn't work. It showed me errors. I have done like looked at the network tabs. Are there any errors, etc., etc.? Didn't work.
One of the things which I also observed across all these different tools is the error handling and the mechanisms. I think all these tools can be better at giving more user-friendly messages. I mean, imagine the customer like us, right? We are come from more product background, and if we are not able to understand what that error is, we're just blocked there.
It also goes back to the prompts. So my learning in the last month or two, right? Initially, I was not thinking about. I mean, let me also go back to real world. When you build a product, what do? You have audit logs. You have tracking of metrics. All of these things you think holistically and build a product. Here, we are just asking to build it. Over a period of time, what I understood is we need to make sure to tell it to have logs. We need to make sure to tell have some kind of metrics or something like which monitors. Then when you go back and triage it, it knows that hey, based on this audit log, it didn't work because of this error. Now let me fix it. So
I actually solved that. So I'll maybe give you some details about that. So I think maybe let me explain how I started building it and how would this evolved and what all tools which I started using it, right? So the problem which I wanted to solve was for anybody who wants to go in and search for. So if I want to use these AI tools, right, I need a good prompt. And for different use cases, you have different prompts. And it's not easy to find the best prompt for the use case which you're trying to solve, right? So what I do is I have like a Notion page with all the prompts which I use for maybe our podcasting, the newsletter, or my daily work, and so on and so forth. So, but I still don't know if the prompts which I have are the greatest and the latest. How do I figure out a way to search these prompts and also store these prompts? That's where I started this website called Get Prompts. So first what I did was, okay, I asked Lovable to start building it. So as I built it, the basic functionality is you go search prompts, there are categories, and when you find a prompt which you like, you can basically like it, and there's a copy functionality where if you copy it, it'll automatically increment the number on the prompt itself. So this basically makes people to go in and say, right, like what are people mostly using, right? So I think when you have this human feedback add to the prompts, you'll know that these are the most used prompts, and maybe I'll pick, even for the use case which I have, if there are 100 different prompts, I'll pick the one which is most used and try it out by people. So that's the whole thought process. So all of this functionality I was able to build it in the first 100 credits which I was talking about, right? And the next thing which I had to do is basically create a Supabase integration. So what did Supabase integration allow me to do is, it helped me create these tables where one table it created for storing these prompts, one table it created for storing the user profile, another table it created for storing the copies, another table it created for basically profiles that are linked to the prompts which are saved. So especially when I can create, so you have YouTube, right? You have collections in YouTube like that. I can create different prompt collections for the prompts which I'm using, which is for LinkedIn I use different, for newsletter which I use different, for podcast which I use different. So all of this I don't need to basically store it somewhere. I can go to the website, log in, and just go to that space and look at it. So all of this was good. Then the problem came in, right? So funny, you're saying metrics, right? So what I also did was I basically gave it a Google Analytics key ID and said, can you make it add it to all the different pages so that Google can get the data and I can see all of my Google Analytics data. So when I launched the product, launch in the sense, what I did was I just added an Instagram story on my channel asking, I'm trying to build this, anybody wants to try it. So 20 people kind of messaged me saying that I want to try it. So I actually sent the link to this, the get prompts to all of these 20 people. So what I saw was people were going, but nobody was signing up. So I saw this in Google Analytics, that people were going, then immediately people were dropping. The problem is initially I didn't have Google sign up. That people were very skeptical, putting their email, then a password, then signing up, and all of that. People didn't sign up. So I think adding Google Analytics will help you understand the flows and all of that. You can basically get extensive set of metrics from that itself. So that's how this is solved. Then again, I'll go into, once I added the Google sign in, which was the most toughest for me. It took me 2 weeks, 100 credits, and so on and so forth. And the problem was Lovable was not able to detect the problem. That's when I said, like, when I was chatting with ChatGPT, it was asking, go to Supabase and look at logs. That's when I figured out Supabase actually has logging. So it has auth login, it has database call login, it has sign up login, on all of that. So what I did is I performed the action on the front end, then went back to Supabase, looked at the log, gave the log to ChatGPT, and it was actually able to debug the problem, and then it asked me to give the same prompt to Lovable, and that's how I solved it.
Got it. I would say, like, on Lovable also, right? Just give it a prompt to say, hey, create action logs for everything that's happening.
Okay.
That then it in itself can go back to the logs and check it out. That helped me. But I'm not using Supabase in this one, but I love the idea. Yeah.
And one other problem which I had was email notifications, right? Once people sign up, you should actually be able to send an email saying that you have signed up. And if you want to change your password, you should send an email saying that click this link to change the password. Or if you want to send a magic link saying that please sign up, you can send a link to people for signing up, right? And I also have email verification where people have to verify their email once to sign up. So for all of these, you need a email service that has to send out emails. How do you solve that? So what I had to do is, when I asked ChatGPT, it said go to Amazon, sign up for email service SES, and for that again I have to go to multiple hoops. It is free. You can send like 5,000 emails every month. Then I have to add the link to Supabase, and now you have email notifications added. So that is another hoop which I had to cross. So I think all of these are different things which you could do while building this app. So overall, my experience, right, what I feel is Lovable is really, really good with the UI. You have a Supabase backend which handles databases, which also handles auth for you, authorization. You basically can see all the users who have signed up. And you can also add APIs, which are called edge functions. So for my app, I added an Open API integration. You can also add OpenAI integrations, Claude integrations, and all of that to it. So I think it's really good that way. But one big problem which I've seen is, I think you have also seen this, Funny. When I make an update, it directly doesn't reflect on the sandbox. So I ask it to make an update, right? I can't see it visually on the sandbox on the right. So I don't know if it's happening because I've used it so much and made so many changes, but it's taking me time. So what I'm doing is I have to open it in a different browser, clear the cookies, re-sign in, and then I see the changes reflected. I think this happened when we were doing this too. I was seeing the changes, you are not seeing it, right? So that has been a problem. And another problem which I've seen with these tools is QA. I think you have to be like a QA expert. It doesn't take care of any of the flows. Every flow ends up in a 404 error at the starting. You have to go through each and every flow and try to tell it to fix it. That's a very big problem here.
That is true, because I've faced that a lot too. I need to test every small detail. Otherwise, it would have messed up somewhere. Yeah.
So overall, I think these were some things which I had problems with, but everything has a solution nowadays. So I haven't gotten to a dead end at this point, but if I get to a dead end, I'll let you guys know.
I had dead ends for sure. Like, I mean, Shopify thing that I was talking about, right? I had multiple dead ends. It was working outside, not working through this, not able to figure out. Maybe it's just spending time. Like, I ended up using an alternate solution, which worked for me, so I just left it as is. But just doing direct API integrations, I had a lot of issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you integrate with Supabase?
No, I'm just using Shopify for entire backend.
Okay.
So that's where I had these issues. I mean, I wish I could do the entire thing in Supabase. I had some limitations on Shopify that I had to stick with. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Cool, guys. I think that's the video, right?
Yep. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Awesome.